Hello, everyone, and welcome to another horrific chat. I'm joined by Phoebe Xavier as we discuss her inspirations, aspirations, and journey into horror. Welcome back. Great to have you again. Calmer
Thanks for
stream
having me.
this time, eh?
Yeah,
less madness. Obviously, last time you were on was the celebration stream, and yeah, we went full nerd there. So apologies for that.
yeah, no, I was happy to be a part of that.
Yeah, it's all fun. That's the thing. Just once I just let the conversation, it doesn't go nasty or off the rails or into like silliness. It's all good to that just let people talk. Yeah, that means I
Hmm.
don't have to, so I get a rest.
Fair enough.
Because when I'm on my own, I have to do all the talking, and it's like, oh, I'm tired now. I don't want to talk anymore.
No
But
worries.
you've been with us for a while now.
I
God, right.
think I think the first time that you put anything of mine online, it might have been an audio conversion of one of my
Oh, one of the
stories.
narrative fiction pieces. Yeah, her own work wasn't it? The
What was
her
it?
her own work wasn't the title.
Her own work. Yes, that
Yeah,
was it.
that was the one. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, nice beheading at the end. Gotta love that.
Hmm. Yes, and I didn't appear as a guest on the podcast then, but I know that that was probably the first time that I appeared in some form
Yeah, but
through your website.
I always consider anybody that should be submitting a story as a contributor. So
Yeah,
once
yeah,
somebody contributes once, that's it. I consider you like part of the team, if that makes sense, because
yeah.
that's what I try to do. And it surprises me because sometimes somebody will appear once and vanish.
Oh no.
Sometimes they'll appear on a regular basis, and then sometimes uh somebody will submit something, not hear a thing, and then maybe a year later pop back up. You know what I mean? It's just the way it goes. So I'm all about how long's a piece of string. Just there's no requirement, if that makes sense, to be uh especially in the early days of this, like the first 2 years of this podcast, that nobody knew who we were.
Mm.
And anyone that's contributed during that time, I'm eternally grateful for, because you know why people chase numbers, and you have to be, oh, so many subscribers, so many followers, oh, it's not worth my
Mhm.
time talking to you, and they don't think of the long game.
Yeah, no, I'm not so pretentious about big numbers on a podcast. I like this is some of the only socializing I do these days. Like I'm very much a hermit, and getting to talk to people online is my main socialization.
Hmm.
And hi to Chris in the chat. I
Oh,
see
Chris is
someone saying
on.
hi.
Yep. Greetings. Always good. Yeah, hopefully we get a chat's such a random thing. Either nobody turns up or everybody turns up.
Yeah, no worries.
It's always fun.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great thing about this sort of technology. We can be like half a world away, sit as if we're in the next room, and just shoot the breeze and talk about whatever, and it's all cool. And especially if you've got interests or hobbies, and your local area may not be able to accommodate you. You may not have the same group in the local area. So here you can reach across anywhere in the world and
Hmm.
find people that the same sort of vein and same interests in that, and somebody to talk to. So it's great. I just like think though sometimes you need balance. It's sometimes you have to force yourself to go out and remember that that it's actually the real life interactions that matter.
Yeah, I still do like food shopping and stuff.
Hmm.
I go out for some of that stuff, but yeah, ever since COVID, I've been increasingly more of a hermit.
God, that's when I started this up.
Mm,
I'm another
yeah.
COVID podcast, started up because it was like, all right, what do I do? Okay.
Oh yeah.
And sure enough, up near 5 years later now,
Hmm.
it's just become part of my life.
Awesome.
But I suppose that's life, isn't it? You take whatever, life isn't always great, but you take what you can, make the best out of it, and
Uh-huh.
just crack on. That's sort of the best way to go, because I don't know, there's just so many people, they're just defeatist, they give up, and
Yes.
they just want everything done for them. And the minute something gets difficult, then that's it, game over. And I'm sure you can appreciate that being a creator. Like, it's no easy path.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I submitted 3 stories in January, and I'm ready for all 3 to be rejected if that's the way it goes. But
Mm.
I will submit again and again.
Is that your main focus? Submitting to anthologies, or is it a sort of combination?
I think they're magazines right now, the three that I submitted to, even online magazines. But I found, I don't know if it was through that last podcast I appeared on with you, but I found a really good newsletter that a writer, a woman who writes, puts out like weekly who she's
Mhm.
submitting to or who has open submissions.
All right.
So I definitely have, I submitted one brand new story written specifically for a magazine, and two old stories, one that had been rejected by Space and Time before, and another one. Oh, I sent you that one, Bluetooth.
Oh
That one
yes,
I
that's what we're going to talk about tonight as well. Yeah, that was an interesting one. I got very much Arthur C. Clarke and a wee bit of Arthur Koestler from it.
awesome. I actually, that was inspired by Borges, the Argentinian, precursor to magic realism.
Hmm.
That author, he has been a big inspiration for me the last few years. I've been reading some of his books,
Yeah.
and so that was kind of my idea of like, if I was going to tell a magical realism story, what would it be? And that's what I came up with.
Oh, excellent. Because that's an interesting thing. Because remember, last on you mentioned that you are not necessarily a horror fan. So
Yeah.
when we were all going blah 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 blah, you were just hearing the elevator music. You know, nerds are going on about their nerdy stuff. Oh my god, you know.
Well, there definitely were a few things brought up that I was completely, like, ignorant of, like, yeah, genre specific things that I didn't know about. But I have read some horror before. I do watch some horror movies,
Mhm.
um, but it's not a lot of them. I do
Yeah,
not. It's not my go-to genre.
that's the thing. How do you find yourself then going into horror, or do you? Is it a clear path that okay, I'm in horror now, or does it just happen naturally? The thing I'm always interested in, because you're a fantasy fan as well, aren't you?
Yeah, to a
Yeah,
degree.
and you know where you
More.
have this genre of dark fantasy that's not quite horror, but then where does that line blur that it crosses over into the genre?
Yeah, I mean, I do think those two genres kind of, share some space for sure on a Venn diagram. Fantasy, dark fantasy, and horror would have some overlap.
Hmm.
Um, the reason I write horror is because sometimes I come up with an idea that I'm like, ooh, I don't think anybody's ever done that before. And so even if it's outside like the purview of my usual genre space,
Hmm.
um, I still want to write a unique story. So I want to, I want to follow through on any good idea I have. So that sometimes leads me outside of the genre of science fiction, which is where I would usually be writing.
Hmm. Is it important to be a fan of the genre you create, or is it more important to understand it?
I think good storytelling is good storytelling, and I think that if you, understand pace, you understand dialogue, you understand characterization, and bringing an arc to fulfillment, I think you can sort of translate those type of writing skills over to a different genre.
Hmm.
I do think that it helps to be familiar with, some elements of it. I like, for example, if you're doing, a movie, or a TV show, a visual version of horror, like then obviously you're going to want to employ things like the jump scare. You might want to, unex- or jump scare plus gore.
Hmm.
Um, and so, yeah, having knowledge of certain elements that go into the genre typically, yeah, I think that maybe probably will improve your foray into horror.
Hmm.
But yeah, I don't usually sit down and say what do I have any good horror ideas. Usually, the only times I write horror is when the idea is already in my head, and I'm like, all right, this is a unique concept. I should write this.
So it's the
And
story sort of drives you.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. If I a unique, plot idea, yes,
Mhm.
will motivate me to actually sit down and write some horror.
Yep. It's one thing I've noticed about book fans. They are very stringent about how their writers, the genres they produce in. Have you ever noticed that? So if somebody's traditionally a romance writer, if they write a horror story, then all the romance writers absolutely hate their guts. Oh, you've done this. This is not what I was expecting.
Mm,
If somebody's a horror writer and they write a sci-fi story that's no horror in it. Oh, what have you done that for? I've noticed that more about book fans, readers, as opposed to movie fans. Like you can have a movie director can produce movies all over the place, and that's perfectly fine. But when
Hmm.
authors do it, there's a massive pushback. It's very, very strange.
And it could also have to do with like how competitive the writing market is, and the fact that a lot of people believe that they can write a book, even though they've
Hmm.
never done it. It's something as a comic book creator that I've run into problems with sometimes is that it's it, the money, the people who make the money in comic books are the artists. The artists always get paid first.
Hmm.
Writers get paid if it sells, at least in independent comic books, and it's because of this presumption, this very common misconception that everyone is a writer that just hasn't written yet, and that drawing is really difficult, and like that. No, I can't be an artist, but I'm sure that I could write a comic book.
Hmm.
And so you don't get so you won't find a lot of artists looking for a writer because they believe that they can write a good story. But you will find a billion writers looking for an artist, and so I think that that could come into play too with criticizing authors that step out of the genre.
Hmm.
Just an expectation of like, oh, I could do better maybe, because like you said, if they're a fan of romance and then they step outside their genre, they're then following that writer into another genre then, and they might not even be mad at the writing or find the writing to be poor, but just that that's not their taste. That's they're not
Yeah, and
actually
and
into
they
it.
act like it's a betrayal. That
Oh
you see it in music as well. If somebody starts mixing up genres or trying something different outside of their sound, people get upset.
yeah.
But I don't understand readers getting that angry about, as long as it's clearly, it's not hidden under the same, using the same art, they've made it clear
Mm-hmm.
it's a different book. Dean Koontz is a good example.
Mm-hmm.
He writes a lot of horror stories, but then he sort of transferred into spy thrillers. He did a spy thriller
Oh,
series, which was not horror, but people got really angry about that.
oh, I'm
And you're
interested.
like, look,
I'd
why?
like to read those.
Yeah, I can't remember. It's all about Manchurian candidates and, like, as usual, a global cabal running these things, and the people that pop up, and there's when they get a phone call and the saying is "play Manchurian with me." That's how the person's set off,
Okay.
activated. Um, it was interesting. Do you know what I mean? I didn't mind because I've read Frederick Forsyth and all back in the day,
Hmm.
so I might be a horror fan primarily, and more so because of the absolute guff coming out of entertainment at the moment in other genres. Like, I'm not even remotely interested, but it doesn't mean I'm going to sit and go, "Oh, you've written this. How dare you?" Because if it's like you said, if it's a good story and you're involved with the characters, then why not?
Hmm. My favorite band is called Fish. It's an American jam band,
Hmm.
and they do not constrict themselves to any one particular genre. So I'm very comfortable with a band like bouncing from genre to genre.
Hmm.
Also, King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. They're from Australia.
Oh, I've heard
Um,
of them. Yeah.
yeah, they're one of the most prolific bands of the last decade, and I think they've made albums in at least 8 different genres.
Hmm.
And very, very interesting weirdos. So yeah, in that sense, I'm not somebody who would be bothered by genre hopping.
But that was a big thing in the '60s with the whole prog rock movement. Anyway,
Mhm.
do
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
That
Oh,
was Flip Led Zeppelin wouldn't exist if they didn't experiment with stuff.
mhm.
Do
Also, if
you
they
think
had
it?
stolen a lot of rhythm and blues, but
Mhm.
yes.
Yeah. Um, do you think it's a today thing that people just want their little box and that's it? This is my little box, and nothing must ever enter that little box, or I must never leave that little box. This is my entire identity, and and that's it. There's nothing else.
Expectation. Yeah, I think it's some people get stuck on expectation, and certainly not everyone is as stringent in their taste, but yeah, unfortunate for them. I'm sure they're missing out on some good stuff because it's someone stepped out of their genre.
Oh no, it is funny, and I suppose that's one of the challenges as well as a creator because you don't want to get stuck in the box, do you?
No, absolutely not.
And when you get to a certain size, not, oh, this is what you do. We have decided this is what you do for us, you know, and how dare you like want to stretch yourself anymore?
Hmm.
and you're kind of like, why? It just it doesn't make sense, and it's the anger behind it I don't get. I mean, it's fair enough. Somebody going, "Oh, that's not for me." Fair enough. I'll wait the one of my books come out, but it's the anger that you see and the vitriol of "How dare you do this?" It's like, why you do that, man? Let's just relax.
Fandom can get very possessive of
Hmm.
of intellectual property that is not theirs.
Yeah, it's hilarious. But say la vie, yeah. Bluetooth, I enjoyed that. That was but do not ask me to pronounce half of the names because
Oh yeah,
my Swedish and Danish is non-existent.
no worries.
But great story. But I definitely saw with Bluetooth, I saw that sort of ascension, like you were saying, just like when Dave got ascended into the next level during 2001, and then Hal followed him in 2010, and then the third Odyssey, 2060. There's like four
Oh,
books. Yeah, there's four books in the
oh,
series.
I've only seen the movies.
All right. Yeah, there's four books in the series because obviously at the end of 2010, it's like all planets are yours except Europa. Don't go there. And of course, they go there because humans,
Yes.
and that's what the next two books explore. But yeah, Hal and Dave, because that scene at the end of 2001 doesn't make sense unless you read the book.
Okay.
And it's
Yeah,
being involved in the higher life form, and that's what I kind of saw with yours. That's what I thought you might have got inspiration from, and a bit of Ghost in the Machine.
you know what? The main inspiration for that was the TV show Ancient Aliens.
Hmm.
I I was watching an episode of Ancient Aliens where they were talking about crop circles, and I just got this, and they were talking about how there were mathematical um, and geometrical like theorems that were being discovered or solved through crop circles. So it was
Hmm.
obviously some sort of advanced math, even if it was being done by humans. They had an understanding of advanced geometry and were like speaking in a language of sorts. So I kind of had the ending from watching that TV show.
Yep.
That's what inspired the ending. And then, yeah, as I started to write it, and then I had the Migo character that was in the bazaar, the effulgent whisper.
Hmm.
Um, that is a Lovecraft creature. They are, I think, only in one story, maybe, but like common in artwork that people who represent draw Lovecraft creatures that they're
Hmm.
very commonly depicted. And so then when I started to draw him into it, I was like, oh, even better yet, this is a subtle Lovecraftian sort of story that like they're not going to see it until that last line or two. But like that is Azazeroth or whatever is a very famous like Lovecraftian
Hmm.
god that he's dreaming the universe, and if he ever wakes up, that the universe will be destroyed.
Yep.
So like those were elements that I took straight from Lovecraft, and because it has all that weirdness. First, it's just like a historical story. It seems like for the first few pages,
Hmm.
and then like by the second sector, with the dark elf, Hagaflotter, or however I know I can't pronounce it
Yeah,
either.
my Jurgens and Blurgens and Bergens are just not even try.
Yeah, but that dark elf character, then he has his little part of the story, and then while I was writing that, that's when it kind of clicked in my head. Oh wait, we're also gonna come around by the end and throw this into like a Lovecraftian sort of framework, and then the third section about like contemporary music. Some of that just comes from my research into music.
Hmm.
I have a friend who actually, so there's that little anecdote in there where like the video blogger guy is talking about that he could have gone to Nirvana's last concert or whatever.
Yep.
And that is a story that my friend actually told me because he actually went to high school at the Vatican,
Hmm.
and it wasn't their last concert. I faked that for kind of dramatic sake. It was their second to last concert was
Hmm.
there in Rome, and he did. He walked across this plaza and he saw like 400 discarded ticket stubs from the Nirvana show. That if he would just pick one of them up, that like 5 years later, 10 years later, he probably could have sold that for $1,000 on eBay or something like
Oh,
that.
but you don't
If it
know,
was
do you?
what's that?
You don't know. Hindsight's 2020, as I say.
Right? Yeah, yeah. But that was like an anecdote from a friend from in Pennsylvania where I grew up that I was like, all right, this is a cool place to drop that in. And I've been researching, I think Lush, that band Lush, and so
Mm-hmm.
all the elements kind of all came in
Yep.
together. And that one took me a year to write, but I did get it done in time to submit to Time and Space last year, and it made it past the first round of reading. And I
Mm-hmm.
think because it's so freaking long, they're looking for like 5,000 word stories, and I think that one's like 9,000. So
Yeah.
I think what
16
bit me in the
pages.
ass, yeah, what bit me in the ass probably on getting it into that magazine was how long it
Mm-hmm.
is.
I was having fun with the
But
movie quotes. I was trying to just get.
oh
I wasn't going to cheat and Google. I was trying to see how many I knew. And I was like, no, that one, no one, no, that one.
yeah, and the couple of
I'm
okay,
not going to
so
spoil it because obviously, if it's going out in the anthology, we want people to buy it. So sorry,
okay.
folks, if you think you're getting a free ride here, no. That's why we're
But
being
yeah,
very vague deliberately.
I do hope I either it out submitted to a magazine now that is looking for specifically weird and multimedia stories.
Mm-hmm.
So the one point selling point that I tried to put in my cover letter was, oh, and that weird sequence that seems like it's just nonsensical letters, that's
Mm-hmm.
actually a cipher. That is a cipher that contains one rap lyric and one another movie quote.
Mm-hmm.
So people that are interested in weird deciphering codes, that's an extra bonus in the story that took me maybe a day or two to encode it. But yeah, I know that when you look at it, you're like, that's just like a jumble of numbers, but there actually is some rhyme and reason to it.
Oh, cool. No, it's fun. No, like I said, I was enjoying it. Like the whole transcendent scene, and like I said, from the sort of movies and stories I've consumed over the years, I was kind of seeing a bit. And I was doing a wee bit of the Northman on it at the start, and I thought that's
Oh
the
yeah.
direction we were going. And then you kind of flipped it, and I'm like, oh right, okay, right, we're going there then. So that's completely different. Okay, now the title, now everything makes sense. I see the link, and yeah, pretty cool. Yeah,
Cool.
I like seeing the pattern. I like seeing the threads. I like pulling on threads, seeing where they lead me, and then realizing that yeah, I get it. I get what's being written. Excellent.
That one was a lot of fun. Yeah. And I mean, I've written two stories since then, I guess, two short stories since then. But as of right now, that is my favorite story that I've written.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I've probably written 25, 30 complete short stories and have another dozen half written. So, but that right now is my favorite.
Yeah. So also a big thing is Indie Planet. Basically, are you a co-owner of the company?
No, 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 no.
Are you
In
because your
Indie
name's in it. I
Planet.
was looking through a lot of the titles, and your name is on them, so you're definitely heavily involved. It's not like just a bit part. And obviously, your story, superliminal latency. I can really speak.
Mhm,
Is there as
mhm,
well?
Get your copy today, folks.
Turn it on the side.
That's right.
That's thick. That's what's that about? 190 pages?
Nope, 200
200?
and 280. Yep.
There you go. That's a graphic novel. Or is that
That's
that's a
no.
story?
This
No,
is all
that's what the one. That's short story. Yep.
short
Sick.
short story collection. Yep. But we do
I
do
was
comic
wondering if you're
books.
going to mix it in. If you've done a graphic novel with stories. Yep.
We we do comic books as well.
Mm-hmm.
This is our horror anthology, volume 2 of that.
Moon. Is that Moon Volume Two?
13th Moon. Yeah, 13th
Yep.
Moon.
13th Moon. Sorry.
Yep. Yeah, no, the 13 is kind of tiny.
Yep.
But yeah, so we do I do the writing and or hiring the artists, and I do the graphic outlay, like title page, putting the titles on, putting the logo box and like price and all that. I do
Mm-hmm.
that myself, but I hire artists to do the art. And no, Indie Planet is a sister company to Kablam.
Mm-hmm.
Kablam is a pub printing house located in Orlando, Florida,
Mm-hmm.
and there I know there's another guy that is part owner, but it's part run by a couple as well. Uh, Barry Gregory, I think is his last name, and his wife Jen. They are really fun people, very cooperative with any time like I'm printing something, very responsive and quick in getting it to print.
Mm-hmm.
So that is their company. But Indie Planet is a service they offer. that once you do print through Kablam, then you have an opportunity to keep your stuff for sale on their website. They host the Indie Planty website, but
Mhm.
then I also, my brand 123 Go has our own like little sub URL or whatever,
Mhm.
where just our things are featured. But if you go to indieplanet.com on its own, you'll see there are thousands and thousands of
Right.
comics by thousands of other
Obviously, your
people.
link is in the description, so folks who
Oh,
you want to check that out, it's in
cool,
there.
cool. Yeah,
Yeah. So that's interesting because especially print on demand, you would think that one or two companies hold the monopoly, and nobody else, unless you go through one or two companies, you're not allowed to create. And especially with American comics, like uh, I don't know what the hell's happening with them, but DC fell off a cliff and Marvel's a joke. And
yeah.
I just I hear about superhero movies and I'm just like, and just I'm out, just zone out. That's it. No further interest.
I watched them all.
Oh no, I give up.
Yep.
I tried, but they just got so bland. Like there's
Nope. I definitely
no
watched them all.
uh it's the same dead-eyed expressions in front of green screen that you just like they're going through the motions and it's just like nah.
I guess to a degree, it's the characters that I grew up reading those comic books.
Hmm.
So the chance to see a movie, even when it's a crappy movie, I will definitely go check out all the comic book superhero movies. There's a new Spider-Man cartoon that he didn't like it at first because of the art, and they made Aunt May like kind of like a hot 40-year-old Aunt May, and so I was put off by that initially. Excuse me, but by the time we got 4 or 5 episodes in, I was like, actually, this is a great incarnation of Spider-Man.
Hmm.
So I'm enjoying that. But yeah, I don't know. I'll watch the new ones when they come out.
Oh, for
I I'm
each their own. I
critical.
just
I'm really critical of the Star Wars stuff Disney Plus has been doing, but I also watch all of it.
hmm.
And as I'm watching it, I might be throwing popcorn at the screen because I hate like the plot holes or the holes in canon that it's punching. But again, as a lifetime Star Wars fan, I watch all the new crap.
God, all the Star Wars nerds are going to come on the channel again. I'm gonna have to ban it at some point because
Mhm.
stop saying this. What about Star Wars? No, I don't fucking care. Fuck off. It's
Yeah,
just
that's fine. Yeah,
just
like
I don't know. I just don't get excited or the arguments and the fight. I'm like, just
mm.
go
I
away.
was
If you don't like it, don't watch it. Don't waste your time. But don't sit. I don't understand the people that don't like Star Wars anymore and then waste their time watching and reading every article about the thing. And that's what just boils my noodle. It's like if you're finished with something, be finished with it. Move on, do something else.
yeah.
But don't sit
Well,
and
some of the shows are actually good, like the Skeleton Crew that just came out a month or two ago. That was way better than I expected it to be.
Mhm.
But then like some of the stuff that like Obi-Wan Kenobi had his own show, and I thought that was pretty stupid. Like they did some things with Darth Vader that I was like cringing. Um, but they also had a 10-year-old Princess Leia, and she was so cute, and she made the show. So it's I have conflicted feelings. As a child, I was Return of the Jedi came out when I was like 6, and I went to see it in the theater 7 times. I made
Mhm.
each of my aunts and uncles take me a different on their own different times. Like so yeah, I was a big fan as a kid, and it carries over now as an adult. I, I still have I'm still a fan.
Yeah, not no, it's all right. Like I said, I don't care. You know what I mean? I legitimately just don't care. It
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
I just hear the was womp womp. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, okay. Who's getting hacked up this time or no, I just find myself that there's so much in the horror genre and there's so many subgenres and there's movies that I can never cover in 20 lifetimes. Even
Yeah.
if I put a pen in my no more new movies from today onwards, there's still
Mm,
more than enough out there and books and comics and other medium that I can never get through.
mhm.
I'm always finding some little gem that somebody goes, "Oh, have you ever checked that?" I'm like, "No." Oh God, what have I missed out? And then I check it. I'm like, "Where was this all my life?"
Yeah, there are definitely some older classic things that I don't discover until I'm 45 years old.
Hmm.
Certainly.
Yeah, that's it. And, you couldn't, because you'd never. You'd be like Clockwork Orange, just strapped to the chair, just everything coming in at once. You'd
Hmm.
never do anything with your life if you couldn't. How do you find that as a creator? Is that a massive struggle? I know I have it.
Um,
Watching stuff or reading stuff just for fun.
I'm reading like 2 books right now. And I watch TV just about every day, and if it's not TV, it'll be like, okay, I'm not. It's still TV. Um, if it's not like a genre show of sci-fi or horror, I watch a lot of those like documentary type things, either
Mhm,
about like archaeology about ancient societies, or there's the show Expedition Unknown that the guy like is traveling all over the place pretending to be the modern Indiana Jones. Um, Crap like that. Like I'll just put it on in the background while I'm doing something else, and then every now and then I'll look up and I'll learn something.
mhm.
So yeah, I might actually watch too much TV. I totally concede that, but I'm also not necessarily watching it so much as I just keep the TV
It's just
on.
on and while you're getting on with things, because that's
Yeah, yeah,
I go to sit down and go, I'm gonna just watch a cheesy movie tonight for fun, and then I look at my schedule. I'm like, oh shit, no, I've got this to do. I've got this to do. I've got this to do. Right, that's out the window.
yeah. Well, I keep a dry erase board right across from my workstation, and I will then unavoidably remember. Oh shit, I have this writing assignment. I better at least put some research in tonight. Better pull a couple more sources for good information on it, and then even
Mhm.
if I read it tomorrow, at least I did half of the battle and got the research all collected to one document for now.
Yeah,
Um,
that's me, like doing
I
the
could,
notes and stuff. It's like, no, I can't leave it to the last minute or cuff it. I have to at least make an effort because it's part of it. It's
it's incremental.
if you're a creator and it doesn't matter what the form is, you want to do things right.
Hmm.
The whole point of fame and fortune that's pure luck. But if you know your own integrity, that you've done your best and you've put the effort in,
Hmm.
you can at least be satisfied with that.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, we're doing work that we love. I mean, getting to be a writer is pretty cool, whether we're
Hmm.
best-selling authors or not. Like, at the end of the day, if I'm holding a comic book that I wrote, or at least did the lettering on it or the editing on it, like that makes me super proud.
Hmm.
Um, no matter how many times I've been published, it's the same feeling of like, oh my god, I'm in a book. Like they published my book, my story. Like,
Yeah, it's even like that one, our first volume, Horrific Tales Volume One.
got that
I
one
was the
right
most
here too.
nervous. Yeah, excellent. I was really nervous about that, and yet I've three of my own books published, but that I was like super going, oh shit, people have given me their work. Oh no, I'm gonna arse it up. I'm gonna do that, and all this stuff going on in the back of my head of how it could go wrong, and
Being
I
an
was
editor being an editor and a curator is definitely a different skill set and a
mhm.
different job. So yeah, I understand that. Yeah.
Yeah, because when it's my own stuff, you're sort of like, yeah, okay, well, whatever, I've done had this idea, but when you take that responsibility on, and you obviously, I'm sure you know that from Indie Planet, being involved that's a completely different mindset. That sense of responsibility. How do you not get
Yeah.
overwhelmed? What do you have any tricks or tactics so it doesn't just get too much?
Okay, so for example, 13th Moon, this is an anthology.
Mhm,
This is our horror anthology. We try to put it out around Halloween once every 2 years or whatever. But and so that one is exactly that. Is that first I will put out a call for stories, writers, and artists, and then I will have to make a decision after I've either read their pitch or if they have a complete or partial story already drawn. Um, then I have to make a decision. Is this what I'm looking for? And I feel like that's the easiest part for me is deciding no, this isn't what I want, or yes, this is what I want.
mhm,
Because I know what I like, I know what I think is good. And that isn't to say the things that I reject are really bad, but it's just not what I seek for that project.
mhm.
And so I think that's the easiest part of it. I think then, yeah, I've had some pretty embarrassing, like when I get to the final printed version that's for sale on the internet, and then I realize I misspelled an artist's name or something like that. And it's like, oh
I
man,
had
they
that
put all
with
this.
Demi, her surname. They're like,
Yeah.
oh, you, and you just do that, wow, oh, you stupid, oh, and then it takes 24 hours to go through to get the changes, and you're like, oh, you're sitting for that 24. I didn't sleep. I'm like, oh, I'm an
Mhm.
arsehole. Somebody's going to buy that, and it's going to be stupid, and blah, blah, blah. And just all that
Yeah.
stuff goes through your head, and you're like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Oh my
Yeah.
God, bye.
So I feel really bad about that, and that is a lot of pressure. But also, like, we are human, we make mistakes, and like if out of a 80-page comic book, there's only one or two spelling errors, then I actually got like
But like companies do it,
99.999%
and
of
they
it
get
right.
away with it.
What's that?
Look at the big companies, multi-million
Oh yeah.
dollar companies get out, do it and make mistakes and get away with it, and they just like, man, we're too big, you can't criticize us, or they make absolute shite that they made it quite obvious they don't care about, and they get a buy ball. But if you're an indie creator, oh my word, you are going to be crucified. Everyone's out to like really nitpick. What do you think the mentality is behind that? Because it boggles me that people are it's not everybody because obviously wouldn't be here if it was. You wouldn't bother. But there's these group of absolute fucking nut jobs who want you to fail. They want to absolutely destroy you just because you're trying something. Like what is that mindset? I don't get it.
Yeah, well, some people don't have anything better to do than to like to exude a vitriol. That's like, I don't know. They lack. Often it's people who lack skill of their own, and that they what do they say, that those who can't do teach, or those who can't do criticize. Um,
Mm,
so the I don't think you're going to see a lot of creators criticizing other creators as much as you're going to see people who don't have a lot of creative talent attacking creators. I think that's the way that usually goes online.
yeah, it's odd because I remember, like I said, the first year that doing this, and just something simple. Here's an indie author, check them
Mhm.
out, and holy crap, the DMs I would get. And you're just
Really?
like, I wish I'd kept them. I just blocked them straight away at the start. I didn't understand the comedy value because I was only starting out on YouTube, in this channel. I didn't understand the comedy value of screenshotting these idiots and then just making fun of them. I do that now, obviously, but nobody's playing anymore. They've twigged on what I do, so they don't play with me anymore. But at the start that first year, and it wasn't even anything. If it was saying controversial stuff or being nasty or being a dick, I would get it. But when you're going here's somebody's just written something. We have done the narrative fiction. Check it out, and then if you want to pick up their book. Oh, what the fuck are you doing? How you? All them the others are shite. Blah 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 blah. You blah blah. Like, what the hell's wrong with you?
Yeah, I don't know.
Have you ever had
You
that?
really, I mean, yeah, I definitely through the internet have had people attack me senselessly, um, but I also block pretty quick.
Oh, block
Maybe
button's amazing.
Yeah, I there have been times, maybe there'll be nights when I'm a little bit tipsy and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to argue with this idiot, even though, like, I'm not going to change their view, they're not going to change my view, but just like, here are some facts to counter your opinion. And so for sometimes that's just a good exercise to like remind me, like, oh, I'm just being attacked by hateful people, like, so that hate itself is irrational, and when you can respond with logic to irrational things, that kind of just makes them angrier usually. So yeah, I'll troll the trolls every now and then,
Yeah.
but
I I've always said I'd
but
be a
yeah.
terrible stalker and a terrible troll because I just don't have the interest. I'd forget. If I was stalking somebody, I'd like forget, and they'd have to ring me to remind me to stalk them because I'd be like, oh shit, was that a Tuesday? Was I meant to be staring in your bedroom window? Oh, sorry, I'll get right round. I'm just
That is funny. Yes, that would be a whole comedy bit. That could be
the
good.
absent-minded stalker.
Yes.
No, I don't get it. Or the people with like 10 fake accounts that just go in and especially in the
Oh yeah.
horror, for some reason they seem to like having a poke at horror fans and creators like, oh, your genre shit, please do this, blah blah. And it's like, what are you doing?
Oh
Why are you here? Just if you hate it, off you go.
yeah. Yeah, I'm not really one for fake accounts. I'm on enough social media as it is.
Yeah,
I don't want more than one Twitter account or more than one Blue Sky account. Like, the one is
oh,
enough
that's
for
one's
sure.
enough.
Yeah.
I just powered back at the start of this year. because it was all over social media, and I'm like, and I was spending like an hour with when it like do this stream. I would have uploaded it to like loads of different platforms, so it would go out there. And I just realized I was just spinning wheels and spending more time doing that than just getting on with what I need to do. So I said,
Mm,
sure, no, I got rid of a lot of stuff because it's just a hassle.
yeah, I have an Instagram account that I really don't use.
Hmm.
It's just been I've needed it sometimes either to do an interview on that or like to contact someone specifically through because they only use Instagram. But like, yeah, I think I've had my Instagram for like 4 or 5 years, and then I have like 4 or 5 pictures on it. Like
Hmm.
I'm definitely not using. Sometimes when I'm bored, I will go and look at cute kitten videos. But other than that, I just stay off of Instagram. Um, and Twitter is a cesspool these days, so I stay off Twitter more and more. Um, I will go over there.
It's
I'm a sports fan,
mm,
and so two of my sports teams haven't made accounts on the other on Blue Sky, which is the new good one version of Twitter or whatever. But yeah, so I'll go over there just for the New York Knicks or the New Jersey Devils or the New York Liberty. Go over, check the score, comment on the game. But then there's no sense in talking politics on Twitter anymore. Elon Musk has destroyed that platform.
well, I don't do
Um,
politics anyway, but it was the other
yeah,
way. You know what I mean? It was skewed the other way, and then it's sort of
yeah,
skewed. Well, as people just looking for engagement in the end statement, yes or no. In the end statement, what do you think? And then all they're doing is engagement farming, and I just can't
that
do it.
too. Yeah, yeah. Because he has the I don't know if they're called influencers or what they are, but the people that have paid accounts on Twitter now, yeah, if they get enough likes, they get paid for it, or if
Mm,
they get enough interaction, they get paid for it. So yeah, people are they're just farming interactions.
yeah, and it's
Um,
I'm on it, like,
it's a
but yeah, it's just another thing to schedule opposed to, and that's it, you know. But like I said, I
mhm.
really pared down the beginning of this year because I was found myself working in the wrong area, you know, doing work in the wrong thing. How do you sort of do that? You know, we all have this thing where we're creators, we try to work hard, but when do you discover that effort you're putting in doesn't quite work out and to switch focus?
I mean, well, this past fall, I had maybe my fourth Kickstarter fail. That I've had like 2 or 3 successful, but like definitely 4 or 5 that have failed. So I'm under 50% on Kickstarter, and I just decided after that one, I was like, I'm not doing Kickstarter anymore, and I'm
Hmm.
actually taking. I took like 5 months off from doing any comic book stuff. Um, I just got back in touch with some of my artists and some of my comic book team that I'm going to finish a couple books that we had in progress before. Um, but I'm not really looking to start new titles or anything like that.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, definitely got to a point where it was just like, either I'm doing this wrong or like um, the algorithms are smothering me, or like an employee at the company could have me siloed and be throttling me that way. I don't really know. I have no insight into the inner goings of that company. Um, but yeah, I'm done with Kickstarter. I will help promote other people's Kickstarters maybe if they want me any
Hmm.
help with that. But like, as far as running my own, I'm done.
Yeah,
Um,
Kickstarter's an all or nothing, isn't it? It's basically
yep,
it either gets the full amount funded or nothing. That's it. And
yep, yeah. So if you spend 30 days working on promoting it, and then I mean that's a lot of time and effort.
mhm,
That's like I usually do at least 20 podcasts, podcast appearances over the course of a month and a half when I'm doing a Kickstarter. So, and yes, it's just sitting there talking, but it's also like not
that's
wearing the
time.
same.
You know, it's time and it's effort, and you have to compose your thoughts. You have to think about what it is. You have to be engaged, and you're thinking about the audience. You know, what I mean, there's a
Hmm.
hundred things going on to just
Yeah.
sitting and talking. Maybe.
Also, if I'm going to make 20 appearances in a month,
Mm,
make sure I have nice clothes for each one. Different outfits. Don't look like a bum in the same T-shirt for all of it. I'm
mhm.
not Beavis and Butthead. Um, but so yeah, no, it's a lot more effort than people might assume. And so yeah, after losing so many on 4 or 5 of them, I just surrender. I'm done with Kickstarter. I've been investing my time poorly.
Mhm.
So yeah.
One of
But
Acrostar Films, they use Indiegogo a lot for their funding. I don't know if that's exactly the
okay,
same or there's slight differences. There's
I should
other
look
ones out
into
there,
it.
but does that put the kibosh then on a project when you're trying to
Sort
raise
of.
a certain amount to get, because obviously, it's not about you, it's about the people that you're trying to bring on board. You want to make sure they're looked after because that's reputation's everything, as you're aware. And I'm always very conscious of that. I don't want to, there's a lot of shysters out there who will rip people off, and
Yeah,
it would kill me to be somebody even remotely thinking me that way. That's just my own personal thing. I'd rather
yeah.
not bother at all than be thought of as somebody who rips people off or messes them about. I'm always very conscious of that.
Mhm.
But something like that Kickstarter, if it doesn't work out, does that play into your mind?
Well, yeah. So okay, so on that Kickstarter project, the main reason I was running it, and I don't think we were trying to raise more than $1,300. It wasn't like a huge amount of money,
Mm-hmm.
um, but it was mostly for printing costs and to pay the artist who did both the front cover and the first story, which is like 16 pages long.
Mm-hmm.
And his art is incredible. And I think like he was still only getting maybe like a $40 page rate by at whatever um at whatever amount that he was going to get. And so like I feel really bad because yeah, 6 months later he did all those pages and I haven't been able to pay him. Um, and I talked to him recently. He's actually almost done with the pages anyway. Um, and we're gonna put the book together and put it out for sale on Indie Planet. But and I'm gonna get him some of the money he would have gotten, but like I'm paying him a lot less because of that. And
Mm-hmm.
he's very understanding. He's been awesome towards me, gracious towards me, like for printing his art in other books anyway. Like I don't think he has anybody else in his life that works on comic books. So
Mm-hmm.
like as an artist, he's grateful that I am organizing anthologies that he can take part in. And I don't think either of us are like, oh, we're going to be bigger than Batman or bigger than Spider-Man. Like we're just doing stories that we like to put
Yeah.
out, and grateful for every reader we get. So I did. I felt very guilty about that, but I know at least personally between me and him, we're still cool. But I wish I could have gotten him the $600 he was supposed to get instead of the $300 he's probably going to get now because
Yeah.
that's the most I can pull together for him. So yeah,
But is that always
I
something in the back of your mind of, oh God, all right, I've shortchanged, I'm gonna have to fix that, and that's always something
well,
that maybe you might have give up and walked away, but you got that in the back of your head. No, I gotta pay this debt, gotta get this, I gotta make this
yeah.
right, so gotta keep pushing forward.
Well, and then yeah, and I mean, it was kind of like a humbling experience to even be like, hey, so I can offer you about this much money and we could still put it out. Would you just want to do that? Like, And so yeah, I still hope he makes a lot more money on it in the future, that it starts selling at some point. But
Mm-hmm.
the fact that we'll put it out at all, and like I know he holds nothing against me, is good enough for now.
Yeah, and
Um,
at least that relationship's still intact, and you can plan for the future of, right, I'm gonna sort them out. I'm gonna make sure this is right. Do people
yeah.
appreciate the fact as an indie creator, it's all on you? You're the
I don't
accountant,
know.
you're the
Like
you're the creative mind behind it, you're the administrator, you're the editor. You know what I mean?
again, there is that thing again where everybody just presumes that they're a good writer. It's a really crazy thing. Everybody, like, you go on to any Facebook forum about like any sort of whether it be Star Wars or Marvel, DC, or indie comics, or horror or sci-fi, that like people will discuss things. People who aren't writers at all will
Mm,
discuss things in such critical terms that you're like, dude, sit down and write like one story, then come back and talk to me about this. Because like I'll read you one story and then I'll let you know if you're a good author or not. And I've been doing this for like 30 years. I've been writing stories since I was a teenager. So and I'm not saying I'm the best writer ever, but I definitely know a little bit of what I'm doing.
mhm.
My story, my Withering Rose story was good enough for you to put in
Yeah,
a
really
collection.
enjoyed
You,
it.
you thought, oh, this is cool. I was put in this collection, novelty fiction, Fading Hopes, the year before.
Cool.
Um, I've had stories you turn into audio podcasts, not just with you, but also Dust Horizons is
Mhm.
a series that I appeared on. So it's like I can answer to, of course, I think I'm a good writer, but I can also answer to that with I've been published.
Yeah, you have
And
a body
like,
of work to back up
Yeah.
What you said. Yeah, that's why I left loads of Facebook groups because I was in a lot of writing groups,
Hmm.
and the absolute arseholes who it's quite obvious they've got an idea. Oh, I'll publish one day. I'll do that. They've no body of work, and they're the biggest shit stirrers. They're in there and they're
Hmm.
just winding it up, and they're nitpicking at people, and you're just like, what is wrong with you?
We
Why?
have an equivalent for that in the indie comic book
Mhm.
forums where it's somebody shows up and they're like, I have a great idea for a 30 issue series. I just need an artist to draw it for me, and then we'll both get rich later on. And you're like, yo, bro, we hear that like 30 times a week. So like you'll have to excuse me if we laugh out loud immediately. But
Yep.
like the just the nerve of some of these people that think that their idea is like the next Batman or whatever, and that they expect then an artist to freaking like do it for free, and
Yeah,
that
fall over
because
themselves.
yeah, and then they're gonna be the biggest hit ever, and you're like, dude, no artist has that much time to give up to your vanity project or whatever,
Mhm.
and you have not. There's no proof of concept yet. You might have this idea for 30 issue thing, but like, show me an outline for your 30 issue arc. Show me the script for the first 10 issues. Like, you don't really have that story. You just think of like you have this glimmer of an idea.
Mhm.
And the story isn't even actually there yet, but because you presume all people can write, even though you've never
That's
written
a bloody hard
anything.
bit. Try getting your character from one room to the other and describing everything around them and what's happening
Mhm,
and how they're feeling. And
mhm,
that's just going from one room to the other. You try and get there, and if it's you've got a particular vision in the head and the words aren't joining up, it's torture.
mhm,
And unless you've actually been through that, God, yeah, but these sort of people that do, they just nitpick and the bitch and the moan, and I'm like,
mhm.
why? Why?
Yep, I'm
Go
familiar with it.
do
That's
something with
maybe
your life.
it's maybe yeah, touch grass. It may be what the internet was invented for angry people to nitpick talented people. I don't know.
I don't know. I just find it very strange, and then it drowns. Then it's why indie creations get a bad name because of these people that jump on and they're nothing to do with it, and they just cause all the trouble. And
Yeah.
that's why I do what I do. I try to bring something positive, as in let's showcase people's works. That was the whole point of horrific tales, as in the real
Hmm.
fiction. It's like take a segment, okay, here's a little snapshot. If you like it, here's where the book is. Go crack on, pick it up. And
Hmm.
the whole point of the chats is not just to be the standard 10 questions, blah, 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 that you've answered the 10. It's just have a conversation, go where it goes, and let people get to know you. And then if they get intrigued, then go and check out your work. That's the way I've tried to go about things. And
Hmm.
I could probably get 10 times more engagement if I just
Hmm.
did all the edgy posts and stuff. I know that. But I don't want to do
Did
that. I
you
can't be bothered.
do you have any submissions rolling in for the cryptid?
Yep. Yep. I've
Awesome.
3 or 4 already. I got one within the first hour. And it's a
Oh,
different
cool.
group of writers. So here's the good thing. It's for writers that have been involved with the podcast, a few times well, but I haven't spoke to them about a year and a half.
Hmm.
And then they're getting involved again, or maybe six
Cool.
6 or 8 months. So people I haven't seen for a while. You know, oh, here we go, ready to go. Like within the first hour of putting that out, I'm like,
That's
brilliant.
awesome.
Here we go. So that gives me heart because I get paranoid as well. Like, oh my god, is nobody going to want to get involved with this? They think I'm an arsehole. All this stuff goes in the back of your head. Do you get that with although you've got your sort of core group like I have here, I've got my
Hmm.
core group of people that work with me like yourself and get what the vision is.
Yeah.
But do you still get paranoid thinking, oh, nobody's going to want to take part in this? When you put out your next issue or
Yeah, I'm often worried. Yeah, and also about the quality of submissions. Like, because
Mm,
if it's just a total open call in one of these Facebook comic book forums, then then oh damn, am I gonna have to like turn down four or five people that have only been doing this a year or two and are not to the caliber yet of
mhm.
what I want to put in my stuff. So yeah, it's like I hope we get good submissions. I kind of is my worry. And but yeah, for now at least, I don't think I'm doing any upcoming ones. Just until I figure out what I'm doing with with my life. I'm probably moving across the country, if not out of the country. So I got to get stuff like that organized before I
Hmm.
invest too much energy into my next anthology. But yeah, I guess I kind of know enough. I have enough forums that I am in on Facebook that I I'm pretty sure that I will get some submissions when I go back to doing that at any
Yeah,
point.
that's what I've purposely done now. Is over the because we're in the fifth year now, so over the 4 years,
Hmm.
I've built up, through the podcast, a sort of network of folks that, and there's never been a requirement, as you know yourself, being involved. There's never like, you must turn up this. It's like, oh, you've got involved. Welcome. Just keep us in mind. So if it's not through the mailing list or like small number of groups that are linked to the podcast, that's it. I don't put it out
Hmm.
everywhere because if people want to, been around long enough, if people want to find me, they'll find me.
Yeah.
That's sort of my attitude about it. And I'd rather have like anyone that's been involved before always goes to the top of the list. I have no problem showing favoritism in that respect because I've already got a working relationship. I've already got, you know, quid pro quo sort of relationship going on. I'm happy with that. And if somebody wants to stamp
Repeat.
their heels, so be it. But then again, the door's always open.
Yeah,
That's
repeat
that's not
customers.
saying it's exclusive. The door's always open, but understand that bring something worthwhile.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean I think that's totally fair. In the many avenues of life, it's kind of like you prove yourself before you're like part of the crew. Um, you go through the neophyte phase first.
Hmm. Do you think it's part of, I don't know, culture today, or I don't even know if it's a younger generation because I see people in their 50s and 60s acting like
Mhm.
toddlers, but this
Mm,
sense of entitlement that I'm owed something in life,
yeah, a lot of
and
people.
it's just like, why?
I can't speak to it on it for each person who exhibits whatever behavior, but it could come from how they grew up, entitlement like that was ingrained in them from childhood. Um, the Just also statistically, a certain number of people are going to suck. 1 in 20 people are said to be sociopaths. So like
Hmm.
when you're out in public shopping, you're running into asshole peoples every day.
Yeah, just you're rolling the dice. That's it.
Yeah, just sheerly statistics and probability. Yeah. Um,
It's even me doing this segment. Sometimes I do get worried. I don't want to put it out all the time because I'm just waiting for that one idiot to turn up and just give me a headache, and I'll not be nice about it. If that makes sense.
mhm,
I just waiting for that one moron to turn up and try and, I don't know, showboat or be edgy or try and belittle me. I'm just like, almost. It's like we're waiting for your first troll, isn't it? When you first put yourself out there, you know the trolls are going to come, and you're just waiting for that first one so you can get it over and done with and move on.
mhm. Yeah. Well, like we both referred to earlier, block early, block often.
Yeah, just bye bye or copy and paste and ridicule. That's
Yeah. Copy and paste the same response. That's good. I should have,
yeah.
yeah. Or some memes, some preloaded memes. Like just I do have a folder of memes.
I'm terrible
Actually,
for that.
I have two different folders for memes. One is for
Yeah.
sports memes and one is for other memes.
No, I even the creating meme myself, it would take me probably an hour or something. I just don't have that sort of, and I'm not that interested in engaging in that way either. It's very rare I'll even post in my own profile, sharing a meme or something. It's just, yeah, sometimes I'll just sort of gloss, haha, okay, okay, right, and then, all right, 10 things the same, and it's like, nah.
I also create memes, so like I don't
Hmm.
know. I I I've dabbled in comedy. I do write comedy sometimes, and I've done stand up before. So I don't think I'm the funniest person in the world, but I think I have some jokes.
No, cool.
Hmm.
So what's Raining Devil all about? That one caught my eye, that title.
With what is it?
Malik Raining Devil.
Oh yeah. Malik is so that started in our espionage book, which is Gunmetal Black Ops,
Oh yeah, yeah, I've seen that.
and
You've
and
4 episodes out so far, haven't you?
Yeah, yeah. And
episodes, 50.
4 issues, yes. And Jeffrey Haas, who is the writer and the creator of that character, he submitted me this story of a angel that God sent to hell to kill Lucifer. And the 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 twist at the end of the story is that if he kills Lucifer, he becomes the next devil.
Mm-hmm.
And that God didn't kind of tell him those conditions when he sent him on the mission. So he decides to kill the devil anyway. And so that was just a quick 8-page story. And then Jeffrey hit me back up like a few months later. He's like, "Hey, Phoebe, I have an idea for where that story goes from there." And like he kind of pitched me, I believe it was 5 issues when we started it. And but now I think he has it plotted out to 6. And essentially the first 2 issues of his series, then Moloch is the angel that killed the devil and becomes the devil, but all the demons in hell don't want to submit to him. Some of them do, like right away. They're just like, "Hey, we see how powerful you are. You killed Lucifer. Like you're in charge now. Like I'm not fucking with you." And but a bunch of them have huge armies of demons and stuff that they're like, "No, my demon army is going to take on this new guy. He's a freaking angel. We're not going to follow an angel. Come on." Which of course Lucifer was a fallen angel as well, but he had been there for millions of years.
Yeah, but not a sent.
So
A fallen angel is a bit different from like one that was sent. From corporate.
yes, exactly. And so the first 2 issues are him just amassing the armies of hell under his command, and anyone that like has resisted his will has been defeated or turned to his become part of his army by the end of the first 2 issues. And then the 3rd issue, which we're working on now and will come out sometime, hopefully this year, probably this year, is him in limbo because he doesn't know how to defeat heaven. He's mad at God now and he wants to get into heaven, but the demons can't get into heaven for whatever reason. Like that's just the rules of the game. But Lucifer was a threat to God so much that God had to assassinate Lucifer. So Lucifer must have known something about how to get the demons into heaven to confront God. So Moloch in issue 3 says, "Okay, well, I got to go find Lucifer, who's stuck in limbo now since I killed him." So issue 3 takes place in limbo and involves confronting Lucifer to get the plan on how they can attack heaven. And then issues 4 and 5 are attacking heaven. And then issue 6 is the new universe after the consequences of their attacks on heaven and how that
the battle and fallout. Yeah, have you ever read The
Yes.
Black Tattoo?
No.
Sam Enthoven? That was very a young lad. The Black Tattoo is like an arcane symbol, and he ends up going to hell. But there's competing factions in hell, and they're all vying for the throne, etc. And it's more the second half of the book that really goes into all that. There, Scarlet Gospels is a bit like that as well.
Cool, that is awesome. So yeah, I see a parallel there. But the other cool thing about Moloch is we've now expanded him into so many different other side stories. Like he appears in the 13th Moon anthology, and it's a story of him from like biblical times. And so there's like the Lost Book of Enoch, which is a non-canonical gospel about angels having sex with human women and then producing these kids that are these red-headed giants. And so that we took from that and we did our own Book of Enoch, which is about that exact circumstance. One of these giants that's the Nephilim or whatever, that is the spawn of an angel and a human, and that Moloch gets sent to Earth to destroy them. And so we show a little bit of his what he was doing back in biblical times. We've done I did a story that it doesn't involve him directly, but it's in the same continuity because it introduces the sins, the 7 deadly sins. And so we had them all appear in another 13th Moon story. And so there's an expanded universe around that character that eventually.
You have to be careful with that because of the anime.
I don't know. I mean, the 7 deadly sins is a.
You know the anime characters, 7 deadly sins?
No, I don't know of them. But
right, there's there's like a series, an anime series, 7 deadly sins. And they're all characterized. I know
I'm not.
I know they've been personified before in other things. It's tricky one sometimes.
Well, that's taken from Dante's Inferno.
Mhm.
So all of us are copying from Dante's Inferno.
Yeah.
So I'm not worried about. I'm definitely not imitating the anime. We're taking it from the same source,
Mhm.
and I believe that is what do they call it, public domain, because he's been dead for a couple hundred years.
Yeah.
So yes.
So is
Um,
this all a plan then to be an expanded universe, or is it just happening by chance?
and initially, because a different author wrote that Seven Deadly Sins story, um, or that story that featured the Seven Deadly Sins, um, that just kind of I was like, ooh, can I put that in this universe? And both authors were cool with it.
Mhm.
And so that was kind of a coincidence. But then I got it in my head. I was like, hey Jeff, so what we're gonna do is get out the miniseries, the 5 or 6 issues that
Mhm.
you originally plotted. But then when you could put that in a graphic novel at the end, all combined, and then we're gonna have a separate graphic novel, which will be all the Moloch Apocrypha, and it'll be all these other stories from the same universe. So that I wanted to have him have these 2 graphic novels by the time we finish telling all the stories. That here are all this, all 15 Moloch stories, all in 2 books. So
Mhm.
that's my vision for that. But we'll see. It's taken us years to even get 3 of them out
Yeah,
because
but the,
I'm
you know
a
what I mean? You've got one, two, six, seven, eight episodes and like sort of between 13th Moon, Black Metal, Gunmetal, Black Ops, and Malik.
Mhm.
I mean, there's 8 issues. There's people having produced one,
Yeah,
who that's not something to like sneeze at.
yeah.
And then
No, I'm
now
proud.
as the story's progressing, you're starting to intertwine, but each has their own flavor. And the fact that you didn't try to do it at the start and it's sort of happening naturally, it's interesting to see where the journey takes you. You don't really know, but then does the project start getting like massive? You're like, oh my god, where do I even am I ever going to get this done?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pushing 48 years old here, so like, do it while I'm young, right?
Yeah, that's it. Because there's people in their 30s have given up. You know what I mean? There's
Yeah,
people, oh, I'm in my 30s, I'm old. I'm like, yeah, right, crack on. Flipping, I'm not dead yet. And like, do you ever hear when some wee bratty 20-year-old going, you're old, what are you doing on the internet? It's like, oh, I was here when the internet was created. Piss off. Not
yeah.
dead yet. Freaking, probably still kicking around when you've already cran into your milk. You wee brat, go away. Not a day as
Oh,
work out. Not the wee shits.
thank you, Chris. I see Chris is
Yeah, I was just about to pop up. Yeah, I think that's with storytelling in general. That was a hurdle I had to get over. There are no original ideas. Everything, I think it says it's the same 7 stories. There's like 7 stories told throughout time, and everything devolves into those 7 stories. That's where we all get our ideas from. That was a massive hurdle I had to get over because I was just wrecking myself. How can I make this unique? Oh, that sounds like this. That sounds like that, and it's worse. The more you watch and the more you read, the more little bits of ideas. But then I equate it to cooking. There's no shortage of chefs, there's no shortage of restaurants, there's no shortage of new ideas, new cuisines, but it's all made from the same ingredients. It's all using the same equipment, but a
Mhm.
little tweak here and a little tweak there makes it their own dish. And I kind of see that with storytelling, but you have to have your own voice. And I think I mentioned that during the last stream. Is that everyone there has their own voice. So all of us on the stream, I can recognize a story. I could probably get blind tested stories with no author's name on them. And if it's somebody I've dealt with, I could probably recognize who it was because I sort of at this stage of the game, I couldn't at the start. This is taking a while. And I'm not saying I'm an expert, but I definitely recognize there's one of Phoebe's stories. Oh, I recognize that, and uh, that's the thing you bring to the table. And I think that's the thing you have to nurture and cherish and be proud of.
Yeah, personal flair, style, absolutely.
Yeah, and that's the big thing. Yeah, persistency. How important is that? You have the vision, but you have to put yourself and you have to not give up. That's the worst thing to go. I'm not a millionaire. Oh, nobody's idolizing me. People aren't asking me for autographs. What's the point?
Yeah,
I don't.
that's. I definitely never got into it for that. Yeah, for the adulation of the masses. Um, I think more than anything, I write because the stories are in me, because the
Hmm.
idea is in me. And I mean, if I come up with an idea and I start telling my friends, and they're like, "Oh, that was this movie," then I go watch the movie and it's exactly my idea. Well, then I'm not going to write that story.
Hmm.
But like, and as long as my idea is unique, then I like putting them down on paper or typing them up on a computer.
Hmm.
Um, and then yeah, even if it's just I send it to 5 friends on Facebook, like that feels good. That feels good for my friends to come back and be like, "Oh wow, this was my favorite part." Blah 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 blah. I'm like, "Cool, awesome, you read my story." I feel like that my work has value, even if I've given it to a friend for free.
Hmm.
Like it improved their day in some way. It enriched their experience.
But also, it's that you've got something in the back of your head. It's now out. It's manifested rather than just being a concept or an idea rattling out there. There's something cathartic about it's gone, right? It's out. It's not
Mhm.
a pipe dream anymore. It's
Oh
real.
yeah, I did the damn thing. Yeah, yeah.
Hmm. What's the difference then, for you between writing for a submission, a novel, and a comic? Is there a different thought process when you go to plan the story out? Is there a different journey you go through to get to the end?
Um, I don't know. Okay, so there was like I said, I've been reading a blog about submissions, and there was a call for a flash fiction story, and the theme was hope,
Hmm.
either hope or sacrificed hope. And I've been really worked up about the elections or the incoming administration here in America, and so I
Oh, we don't
wrote
do
this.
politics on the show.
Oh well, the story though
Yeah, but
is
we don't
called.
do, yeah, just leave
Okay,
that. Especially your side
no
of the world.
worries.
These are all mad over there about all that
Okay.
stuff.
Well, I wrote a story called "It Used to Be Election Day," and it's like this first-person narrative, somebody in the future talking in a dystopian world, post-democracy world, and so I wrote a quick 1,000 words about it, and I kind of put what I felt was like a twist on it. Like, yes, this character is hopeful, but I also show you that by the end how they get their comeuppance anyway. So that was very specific to writing for that magazine.
Hmm.
My idea both followed their theme and fit the 1,000 word flash fiction limit or whatever. Um, so that definitely was a direct response to the specifics of the thing,
Right.
the call.
Is flash
But
fiction what's the limit in flash fiction? I think of flash
1,000.
fiction, I think of things in the back of bookmarks or little, like about 3 paragraphs or something.
1,000 words is what I've been encountering in all of the submissions
Hmm.
that call for flash fiction. Micro fiction is 250 or less.
Ah, right, that might
Um,
be, yeah. Somebody's
yeah.
then they'll
Oh, they
call
have
it
that.
flash fiction, but they mean microfiction then when they like put it in the back of a bookmark, for example.
Maybe also there's what do they call them? Two sentence horror stories. Those are really
Hmm.
cool too. Um, but I don't think I've written a good one yet. But some of them are really good. Um, but what for your the horrific one, I had been 80% done with that story, and I've been writing it on and off for a year.
Hmm.
And then when I saw the call asked for hauntings, I was like, I'm writing a haunting story right now. Like, okay, I'm gonna finish this in time. Um, so you were actually the motivation for me to finish the story at that point.
Excellent.
So I was like,
That's
all right,
done something
I
useful in
know.
the world then. There you go.
Yeah, yeah. I knew the deadline, so I was like, all right, I got
Hmm.
to finish the last 20% of that story by I think December 1st was the deadline, maybe. Um, and
Yeah, it
yeah,
was.
so
It
I
was,
knew that.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, so at that point, the story was already. I already knew what the story was going to be, and I knew what I was doing in the story, but I hadn't gotten around to finishing it. And your call for submissions kind of motivated me to finish it at that point.
Isn't there something
So
about deadlines? Like we all meander along, we all have all the time in the world, all come back to that project, but there's something about having a deadline and a purpose that sort of gives you
yeah,
that extra, oh, right, I'm gonna focus my energy here because there's not so much a payoff, but there's a completion to it or there's a purpose. And we kind of need a bit of that as well.
yeah, I think our brains, well, and I mean, everybody kind of thinks or has a different organizational process, maybe, but
Mm.
um, Yeah, it definitely helps motivate me to work. When it's open ended, then it's like, yeah, I'll do it. But
That's all right. Yeah, that's just let me add another 6 videos. It's okay. I'll get around to you again. Yeah.
yeah,
Uh,
basically yes.
that was
So
something I
the
was really happy about. I didn't get 10 haunted house stories. I was dreading that just to get the Conjuring times 10, and I did
okay.
get a couple. But once I had my haunted house story, I'm like, okay, that's done. I had to say no to a couple of people because it's like, yeah, I've already got that. And each
Hmm.
year's brought something different. And that's what I wanted. And that's what I'm hoping with cryptids as well. It's going to be the next one. It's I don't want 10 Sasquatch stories. I don't want 10 Mothman stories. You know what I mean? Everyone knows about those. I want people to dig in and little known ones, which I've got
I
already.
was
I've already got a couple already, which is fantastic. That people get what I'm trying to say is just go a little bit out there. And what I
so
want to do with the series is people can drop on and off. Not everybody has to be involved with every single volume. Mightn't be volume 2, mightn't be your bag, but volume 3 might be, or volume 4 come back in. And I'm all
mhm.
about the long game. Which a lot of people seem to want this, and you can probably appreciate it as well as a creator. People want like click and collect. They want the instant gratification. They don't understand the long game of right. The overnight success happens after 10 years in the game. I mean, it's not like you jump in once and that's it. It all happens.
Yeah. The okay, so for cryptids, I was thinking about writing either a New Jersey Devil story or a Yowie story. Do you
Mm.
know anything about the Yowies?
Yeah, I always have heard. I know about the New Jersey Devil. I've got a New Jersey Devil. I don't want to spoil, but I've got a yeah.
Like a little figurine
Yeah.
or
No, I mean
oh,
a story. I
oh
don't want
cool,
to
cool,
spoil
cool, cool.
already, but yeah, that that one's
All
taken.
right, all right, then I'll shoot for Yowie if
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
get around to doing that one. I actually have a lot of other stuff I don't think I'm submitting on the cryptid one, but yes, I'm definitely going to take a look each time you put a call out.
Oh, excellent.
See.
That's what I want to do is just get that sort of rolling. And I'm same position yourself. It's like you don't want to let people down, so I don't want to put out a submission until all the things ducks in a row because I don't want to mess people about.
Hmm.
And that's once again, it's all part of the responsibility. That's the difference between just being a creator and taking that next step to actually being the editor, being in charge. It's uh, have you have you seen people that have tried to take that step and then realized, nah, not for me? Have
Um. Yeah, I don't know. No, not really. Not personally. The people that I know. Um. I can think of um, and a musician that decided to do a record label that after a few years of it, they were like, you know what? I actually just want to be a musician. Like, I don't want to be the person organizing other people's albums and being responsible for making sure artists get paid or this or that. So I can think of one instance of that in the music industry, but the no, but I have seen a lot of people that just leave comic books altogether. That I think I don't know what I think it's a blog maybe, but someone wrote a really good blog about how comic books broke them, and they
Mhm,
mean like mentally, physically, economically, like that they put so much of themselves into comic books for it to never even break even, to just basically break even if they hustled at like 4 or 5 different conventions every summer, and
mhm.
then that how much time that takes and how much energy that takes. So I do know that's a recurring thing that a lot of people have experienced, unfortunately, is that there is there is some room to have success in indie comic books. There is, and there's some people that are very successful. But even like the indie companies like Dark Horse or IDW,
They're in
they're
trouble at the
huge.
moment.
They're huge companies, though. They're not
Yeah,
really
but Dark Horse is
indie,
in trouble at the moment.
are they?
Yeah,
Like
they're laying
economic?
people off. They're laying off like loads of people and stuff. And
I believe it. Yeah, I believe it. Um, but and so when you so I was doing, I think it was the last Kickstarter I did, yeah, that I was on a podcast. It was one of the roundtable type of podcasts, and a guy that had a Kickstarter open at the same time brought up some really interesting statistics about Kickstarter and comic books. And it's like, okay, so we're all independent comic book creators, But if you look at where all the money for comic books and Kickstarter went to, and he shows you it went to this guy from Dark Horse, it went to this guy from DC, and it went to this guy from Marvel. So out of the $1 million that went into independent comic books that month,
Mhm.
really 95% of it went to people that are already rich and famous off of comic books.
Yeah.
So it's like that may be their independent project, but like you're buying it because you already know that guy's name, and
Yeah.
like he already has this huge celebrity hoopla about him that draws you to the project, whether the project's good, better than mine or not, um, or if the rewards on my
You'll never
project are
know unless you try. That's the thing. It's
yeah,
yeah.
oh
That's the
absolutely. But
drum
I
I
think
bang. That's my soapbox I get on. It's like, yeah, why not try the local restaurant? Why go to the fast food chain all the time? Because it's hollow.
hmm
You know, try the little restaurant, try the little boutique. You know,
hmm
yeah, you might have it might be a bit more expensive. Yeah, it mightn't be as well polished. You know, not everything's as slick, but you might have a better experience. Don't know.
hmm
At least try it. How do you fight against that's one thing I'm trying to do is, change people's perception of give indies a go. Give a little niche, somebody you've never heard of. Give them a try
hmm
because I'm looking at these covers and they're bloody amazing, I have to say. Like I'm really definitely the Malik ones caught my eye first of all when I was scrolling down. Um Even the Sidereal Apogee, I don't know if it'd be they look like sci-fi comics or sort of Lost Planet, but still
hmm
the covers are catching, they're catching my eye. And
Thank you.
when I see a lot of the sort of bland stuff done by the main ones, it's like, bloody give it a go.
Yeah. Well, and the point that I was driving at is really just that these that even what is considered independent comic books these days is sometimes really just the industry itself, the established
Hmm.
industry, and it's just because they kind of package it as an independent project that it takes away from the actual real like independent DIY from the ground up people like
Hmm.
myself and a lot of my friends. Um, but yeah, so I've seen a number of people give up along the way, and I know right now I've been in a 6 month pause, but finally coming back to it and finishing some books that we had in progress at the time that I put myself on pause. Oh, and
Yeah.
also I paused not just to stop writing, but just comic books. I was like, all right, comic books on pause, other writing we can work on. So
Hmm. And you need that every so often just to like pause a certain thing so it doesn't burn you out and then come back with a new energy.
I reckon I do because like it was driving me crazy after I that last Kickstarter failed that I was just like, wow, am I just bad at this? And I think what I determined was I'm bad at Kickstarter, not that I'm bad at comic books.
Hmm.
So
And this
um
is where, because I'm the same with social media and stuff. Sometimes I go, "Am I just horrible that nobody wants to come here?" And even though I'm already statistically well above, like, there's people don't even get their 100 subscribers, or don't even make it to 100 videos, and they
mhm,
give up. And that, I know I'm well above that, but still in the back of your mind, you've always got that imposter syndrome that just
mhm.
will not go away. It doesn't matter. I could be here a year's time with another 10,000 subscribers, another 5 books out, and I'll still feel like an imposter. That's never going to stop. How do you battle against that? Because that's my biggest fear is that sometimes takes over, and I'll just
Well,
think, why am I doing this? And it's
well, I
it's
think
come from nowhere. There's no logical reason for it.
I think one of the things that kept me going and like being like, oh yeah, I'm still a good writer, even if I'm not having huge success on Kickstarter. That my freelance gig right now, which is at least once a month, I'm writing a YouTube episode for a music documentary type of YouTube channel,
Hmm.
and so I know that my ideas are still good enough for that channel, and that the guy who's paying me to do that is like, yeah, you have great ideas, Phoebe. You pick good topics, and then you do good write ups. So I'm like, all right, I get paid every month for writing. So like, whether it's a ton of money or not is not really relevant as long as I got food on the table and place to rest my head at night. Um, and that if my only income is off of writing, I'm a writer.
Hmm.
Like so so that gig actually has been like a really good soothing my shattered ego. um, that I know at least I write well enough to get paid for it regularly.
Hmm.
So that and every getting picked up in your collection was awesome. That gave me enough confidence that I've submitted 5 stories in the last 2 months. Because like eventually I'm going to get put in another one. It might take 10 more rejections before I get another acceptance, but now it reminded me again, like you got to swing the bat. Like you miss. What does Wayne Gretzky say? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Mhm.
So it just kind of help to remind me. Yeah, just keep submitting stories, Phoebe. You have a few that haven't been published anywhere yet. Keep submitting them. So submit the
Yep.
same story every
Well,
month to a
it's the
different
same with
publisher.
yourselves coming back to me. If somebody reached out, oh, you're coming back. Wow. If I do like a narrated fiction, like, what, you want to get involved again? Holy shit, I wasn't that terrible. Once again, imposter syndrome. And when somebody wants to, oh, come on, do an episode about this, or can we review this movie together? And I'm like, you want to come back on? Okay, right. And I'm a bit stunned. At times it's like, okay, right, cool. I mustn't be completely useless. And then that sort
Yeah.
of, it pushes the wee demon back, in the back of your head that wants to
Hmm.
just ruin you.
Positive reinforcement. Yeah.
So yeah, we've sort of talked. That's really important for people to know as creators. It's because we all go through it, and it doesn't matter how big or how small or what genre or medium. We all go through that struggle. I think it's just part of the process and part of that putting yourself out there, because it's not an easy thing. You're putting yourself. It's not just you've assembled some parts that were put in front of you. It's a bit of you goes into everything you create, and that's burying your soul to the world to get ripped apart, and that's. There's an element of bravery has to be involved in that, don't you think?
I think I also have set up a pretty good safety net of the people that I send my stuff to get reviewed and stuff like that. That even when they've kind of harped on this element or that element of some of my stories, that they also say, well, this was the good part of it. So it's like
Mhm.
I know I have a reliable network of people that are going to give me honest feedback and that take me seriously as a writer. I don't know. So that is again, positive reinforcement keeps me in it.
Yeah, and also
Um,
level-headed, because I know, the sort of team I have, they're not behind the door. They'll tell me, if something's
mhm.
wrong, and I appreciate
Yeah.
that because it's from a trusted source, but it takes a long time to build that sort of trust. It's not an
Hmm.
overnight thing. There's people who put themselves out there and then take a strop, and it's like, who have you built a rapport with? Who have you built a relationship with to share that sort of, intimacy, because it is an intimate thing, putting your work out there, getting it
Yeah.
critiqued, even if it's in private and not in public.
Hmm.
That's not an easy thing, and that takes years sometimes to build that sort of
Oh
relationship
yeah.
with someone to be able to do that.
Hmm.
What would you say to
Um,
someone, sort of wrap up here, and these are always
yeah.
the
Sure.
important questions. Um, Someone wants to start out, and as you know, it's easier now to create, it's easier to put something together and out there, but it's harder, I think, to get noticed because it's overwhelming. It's one drop in the ocean. What
Hmm.
advice would you give to someone that wants to start out as a writer or a comic book, in sort of your sphere? What advice would you give them?
One is like work on it all the time, every day. It doesn't have to be 8 hours a day, but put in some time on whatever your creative output is. Um, I used to use a image on my desktop. My wallpaper would just be, it said writers write, like a reminder,
Mhm.
like you're not a writer unless you're writing, so like write something. A constant reminder to be working on writing every day. um Also, you're gonna have to grow some thicker skin because you are gonna get 200 rejections before you get an acceptance sometimes. um and with that in mind, also be submitting to anthologies because that's one of the best ways to get read, because the if someone else's anthology, not do what I've done or you've done and make your own anthology.
Mhm.
That'll come later if you're good
That's
at
a
it, and if
massive
you
step. That
yeah, and if you want to go that direction, do that later. But there are already people out there doing that. So if you can get into one of their anthologies, they're going to be promoting that book. They're going to be promoting that comic book. So some of the pressure on how to get readers is off of you, and it will also tell you that you're actually good enough to be published. Be like, oh, I made it into this collection. awesome, I'm a real writer or I'm a real artist. And that is an important confidence builder for this next one that you want to be in, or for
Mhm.
completing your own book or completing your own short stories. So yeah, I would do that. The other thing I would say is probably get a Substack. I see everybody does Substack these days, and it's a way to like self-publish stuff, and it can either be monetized or free.
Mhm.
So that's whether it be like writing a news article or a short story or some, taking photographs of a parade, whatever it is. I think a Substack is actually a pretty decent way to host any creative output at this point.
Cool. And finally, and most important, what's next down
Mhm.
the pipeline for you?
Yeah, sure. Um, Well, I'm writing an episode for that YouTube channel
Mhm.
about the Dropkick Murphys. They're a punk band from Boston. So trying to
Plastic
time
patties.
we're trying to time that one so that we'll drop it on St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, that's it. Plastic patties.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what else? Oh, okay. So I have a short story. Have you ever heard of the Cosmic Background?
I have, yes.
He does like Flash Fiction magazine or something like
Mhm.
that. So I have a story that I'm working on for that.
Mhm.
Which is about Herbert the Walrus, who's a character I've already written about. But he's in a deep space city. He's a walrus that lives amongst humans. I never explain why he's a walrus or how he can talk and function amongst humans, but it's just like another like magic realism, surrealist sort of twist
Mhm.
where, and he's a psychiatrist, and it's about a patient of his, and that'll be a flash fiction piece. Um, and what else? Oh well, I'm resuming work on a couple comic books. I talked in the last couple days to some of my artists, and we'll be doing another issue of Sidereal Apogee, and another volume of 13th Moon is almost done. I told you about how I'm
Mhm.
arranging to pay the artist
Yep.
that the Kickstarter failed. But what else is he? Oh, and yeah, and we're finishing Moloch number 3, hopefully in the next year. I basically need to get it colored, and I do the letters myself. So I just need to get it colored, and then we'll be able to finish that
Mhm.
one. So yeah, that's what's
So you're
next.
not busy at all then?
Nope, not at all.
Yeah, fantastic. Phoebe, it's been an absolute pleasure, and hopefully this was less
thanks,
chaotic than last time.
thanks for having me on, Colin. Definitely.
Always a pleasure, and obviously looking forward to working with you in future. We're going to keep going as long as people are interested, and
Yeah.
uh, I finally kick a bucket because I'm always going to want to create something. It's in us.
Hmm. And thanks
But
for tuning in, Chris.
yeah, and those of you that are hiding up in the top, I see
Mhm.
you are allowed to say hello. In the chat.
Ah,
There's always people. I have a little counter, and there's always people lurking, but they never say hello.
oh, that's okay.
And
Well,
it's
thank you everybody for
yeah,
watching.
yeah. So there you go. Check out Phoebe's work. Link is in the description. And just as me say, until next time, keep up to date with the channel, do the type of clicky things, and remember to keep it creepy, keep it horrific.